So here's the problem with taking your fat loss slow and steady. It takes fucking forever. And because it feels like forever, very rarely do you get to that finish line where you actually feel like you've got a lean physique. But you've also tried the rapid restrictive diets before, right? They usually barely last longer than a few weeks before it just feels like too much. So in this video, I'm gonna go through how we combine aggressive speed with steady and sustainable progress using something that I like to call the sprint method. The exact same thing that I take my own coaching clients through to take them from skinny fat to unrecognizable. So you too can finally finish the shred, get lean for good, and spend more time building up and getting jacked. So let's get stuck in. So I'm sure you've heard that fable story before of the hare and the tortoise. So the hare sprints off in the race, he gets way ahead, but then he gets cocky, has a nap, and then the tortoise, slow and steady, plods up behind him, overtakes him at the finish line and wins. And the lesson that we're all supposed to take from that is slow and steady wins the race. Well, here's what I take from it, right? Be fast and aggressive, just don't do it in a way where you take your eye off the prize, have too long of a break, and lose the fucking race. The hare didn't lose because he went fast. He got cocky and he stopped and took too much time off. It's not really slow and steady beating fast and aggressive. That's more of an attitude and an approach problem, to be honest. So let's relate this back to what we want to talk about, which is skinny fat guys, skinny fat blokes failing their diets. Just like the hare, if we look at these fast, aggressive and overly restrictive diets, you know, like carnivore, cutting out all carbs, fasting, fuel shake meal replacements, all that kind of crap. The reason you lose doing stuff like that is because it is not sustainable for long enough. You can only hang on to stuff like that typically for a few weeks, not the amount of months that you actually need. So you end up caving, packing it in, and just having too much time off before you muster up the motivation or the willpower to try again. Just like our fast out the block, aggressive hare there. But let's flip it over now. Here's why slow and steady diets don't work in the real world either. It's why I don't also recommend you be a tortoise. So even though it is more steady and sustainable, it takes fucking forever. Progress takes too long, so it doesn't leave you very motivated. Because there's no finish line in sight, and a slow and steady diet, it's still a diet at the end of the day. It's still gonna be some level of discipline, regimentation, and restriction. And if you are putting that effort in, even if it is slow and sustainable, progress is taking too long, you ain't gonna be motivated to see it out. The answer is to actually combine the two together in what I like to call is the sprint method. This is what I use with every single one of my skinny fat clients, right? Instead of dragging a diet out for 4, 5, 6 months straight, which is how long most guys realistically do need to finish their shred properly, we do it in individual 8-week sprints. And each sprint we hit very aggressively, rigid structure, fully dialed in, and at the end of the day, being quite imbalanced, not allowing too much flexibility. After that sprint, we have a refeed, which is an opportunity to take a physiological and psychological little break, take your foot off the gas, allow some flexibility to come in and get ready to go again in the next sprint. Here's the part that most guys don't really expect. Doing it that way in individual sprints, you are going to end up losing way more fat over a period of 4, 5, 6 months than if you try and do it in one continuous long attempt. But it works not despite the little refeed breaks, but because of them. Typically, after being in a calorie deficit for a solid 8, 10, 12 weeks, you do need a little bit of a metabolic reset. So if we're going to talk from a physiological perspective, it is actually necessary. So a sprint gives you a finish line every 8 weeks. And it's far easier to stay disciplined when you can play a little bit of a countdown game. You know, even if it's getting a little bit tough, you can think in your head, right, 4 weeks to go, 3 weeks to go, 2 weeks to go, just hang in there. And that is a completely different mental game compared to, I don't know how long this is going to be, I don't know when it's going to end. So it works so well because you get a much clearer idea after each sprint of how many total you need to finish the shred. Most of my clients, typically who come on board, need either 2 or 3 sprints. We look at David here for an example, which he took 3 sprints to complete his shred. You can see that every single sprint he did got him closer and more clear of how much more he needed to drop and how long until he was done. So you can imagine how much more motivating that will feel every single sprint, seeing the change after each one, seeing just how much closer you are to that finish line of the shred. And Ollie here, for example, we shredded in just 2 sprints. You know, that clarity after each one, it really helps you stick to it each time and like not feel like it's never gonna end. And admittedly, some guys, you know, who have got a bit of a bigger starting point, they do take a little bit longer, like Avinash and Anthony here, who needed more sprints. They needed 5 in total each because they had more to lose at the end of the day. Avinash, he dropped 30 kilos across these 5 sprints, and Anthony, he was starting from 0. He hadn't actually trained in years or even bothered with a diet for I don't know, a good 10 years plus. Like, he lost close to 40 kg in 5 sprints. So it's longer journeys, but the same principle each time, right? Each sprint gets you closer to that finish line. Each one a little bit more motivating than the last. Honestly, if you ask them, they'll tell you themselves, none of them would have got there with one long, miserable diet. Quit somewhere along the way, probably 2-3 months in, and they never would have finished their shred. Now, this next part here is absolutely critical and what sets it apart from regular strict diets that you've tried. As you might be wondering, Aidan, why can't I just do this sprint method with my usual shit? We need to go through the actual approach to this method, all right? Because what we do with the sprints on my coaching program is that we combine 2 things. And if you don't do this, you'll just end up probably back where you started every single time. You must combine aggressive metrics with sustainable habits. So, sustainable habits. It sounds obvious. Even if you plan on smashing it for the 8 weeks and then taking a little bit of a breather, it's still something that you need to be able to sustain from a habitual side of things. It needs to work with your schedule, your lifestyle, your food preferences as well, to be honest. Like, yeah, you've got to change your habits a little bit. There's got to be a few compromises here and there. You can't be ordering like Uber Eats every fucking night and expecting a miracle to happen. Meal routine that we get you moving on, it needs to be something that you can follow quite repetitively. Still needs to merge well with your work hours, your family time, your weekends. Because if we develop these habits properly, the idea is that it's something that you can keep up like forever, long term. It's not gonna crash and burn like your traditional quick fix diets or those fads out there with those crazy rules like carnivore and meal replacement shakes and fasting, etc. Like, it's just a means to an end. That's sustainable habits. Now, the aggressive metric side of things, that is the calorie deficit. The amount of steps and activity you do versus the amount of food, nutrition that you take in, right? So with your developed sustainable habits and routine, all we need to do from that is just tweak the portion sizes and slightly dial up your activity so that that deficit is big enough for a fast and motivating shred. That way, that weekly weight drop will be much bigger and it will be a lot more motivating for you to carry the fuck on. Most guys mess this up because they get the 2 things like the wrong way around usually. Go aggressive metrics, great, but they'll do it with non-sustainable habits. And as I've already mentioned, that tends to crash after 4, 6, maybe 8 weeks tops. Or you have sustainable habits, yay, but the metrics just aren't really aggressive enough, so it just goes too slowly and you get fucked off because your progress isn't happening fast enough. You need the right combination of the 2, so you can smash through the 8 weeks, all right? Be a little bit imbalanced. You still need to be able to say no to some socials and be a little bit hungrier with portion sizing and things like that. But it is with habits and routines that fit comfortably into your daily and weekly life. That way, when you go into your refeed as well, your little breather, you keep those same habits. You just readjust the metric side of things. Bigger portion sizes, you can reduce the intensity a little, you can have a little play around with like your activity levels, have a bit of a breather, but you're not going on some like fuck it diet and just binging and undoing all your hard work that you've just done in 8 weeks. You feel refed, refueled, and then you're ready for the next sprint without taking a big old step back and fucking it up. So that is the sprint method. That's how it works. If you want to actually make sure that you learn about and implement this sprint method correctly, full coaching, structure, accountability, that is exactly what my Accelerate program is built for, which is my 8-week shred sprint program. take you through your first 8-week shred sprint properly using all the methods and principles that I coach my own one-to-one clients through. Here is that you shred up a solid 5 to 10 kilos in your first sprint in setting you up on the correct roadmap to a lean and jacked physique that you can actually sustain. Ultimately, it's designed to kickstart the fuck out of phase 1, which is the shred of my full 4-phase system, where I coach my guys from skinny fat to lean and jacked over a 12 to 18 month period. This little 8-week sprint program, it's only 99 quid, which is an absolute bargain. I mean, it's practically free. Full workout programming, nutrition, meal planning, weekly focus, support, accountability, proper coaching from me, yours truly. It's absolutely everything you need. The next intake starts in September. Link is below if you want the full details for that and if you would like to get on the priority waiting list so that you are first to access when spaces open. Check that out in the description below. If you want to see how this sprint method works out in the bigger picture across the full 4-phase system that I take my clients through, all right, I will leave a link to a video around here somewhere. It's a complete deep dive on the 4-phase skinny fat to lean and jacked system that I use with my clients. So feel free to check that out. Otherwise, I hope this makes sense. I hope you found it useful. Feel free to like, subscribe. Any questions, please comment below. Check out Accelerate, watch that video. Speak to you later.